Uh, Hello and welcome to Hong Kong House of Cards for December 7th, for the next 5 minutes anyways, 2015. And today, Fuchou Zhe. Exactly what are you doing on a very typical night? You wake up, you spend, are you yin or yang aspected today?
I'm black cycled, so
So,
I'm balanced, but it just conserves chi if I go
yeah,
with
it conserves chi, it just makes you look funky.
a little bit. But my
Yeah.
typical evening, I wake up and after a little bit of meditation, I've instructed my followers to pray an hour after sunset. So I usually focus to attempt to hear those prayers before I go about on my average night.
Yeah. One of your followers is praying for you to get there right now because someone has asked for you by name.
All right. Well, then I will definitely finish getting myself dressed and head to him.
All right. This follower is a portly man who he's a I'm trying to think of a good street level profession. He owns a convenience store. And he prays to you mostly for businessy things, but tonight he's at home, which is unusual because he owns a convenience store. And in his home is a small child sipping tea, about 11 years old. And he stands up and bows to the child stands up and bows to you. And your follower suddenly looks like he snapped out of a trance, and he looks between you and looks at the child and then runs, unless you try to stop him.
No, I won't. I will allow him to leave. I'll do a slight bow of respect to this individual upon greeting them.
Yes. He smiles slightly and says, "My name is Wan Ping. I am Bodhisattva of the Chin Cooks here."
I am honored to meet you. Surprised that you came yourself.
Oh, I can handle myself. I'm not as much of a traditionalist as my dharma might lead some to believe.
So I hear.
Indeed. He smirks slightly and says, normally I'd ask that you come to me, but seeing as men in black suits have destroyed our temple, that is going to be difficult."
Yes, quite. Is there perhaps another location we can go to?
We're working.
Discuss.
We're working on that. For now, here will suffice. Your follower was quite gracious when subjected to a little bit of obligation.
Yes, I suppose. If one must force their will upon a mortal.
It's simply a precaution. You don't know who is sympathetic to the men in black suits.
I see. Very well then. To what do I owe this honor then of being
I like
meeting
to
you?
I like to meet all the supernaturals who come into the city, and I especially like to meet all the Kuei Jin, and I especially like to meet all the Kuei Jin of heretical dharmas. I'm not barring your activities here, of course. I'm mostly just making sure that you follow the laws that we have set down here. The truce needs to be maintained. And any actions you take here will, at least locally, represent the Chinkuks.
Yes, I've had a quick summary on how this truce works. It's a very ingenious arrangement.
I thought so. I wrote it. He smirks. and he says, he then sits back down and says, tea?
Of course. I'll
Okay.
sit down and pour myself some tea, and then if he has room for more tea, I will provide him with some more.
Yeah, the tea he's drinking contains yang qi. It tastes like someone's actually infused it into the tea leaves and then brewed it in the water. You can choose whether or not to actually derive yang qi from it, but it's a matter of you can either ingest it and just taste the qi or take it into your form. You can choose.
Well, I'll take it in because you never want to turn down an opportunity to have the energy available.
Yeah. Bear in mind, if you go over cap, you get imbalanced, and that causes problems. That's why I'm saying you've got a choice. But anyways, he's very soft-spoken, and he sounds a lot wiser than he looks because he's an 11-year-old. So, but he's dressed as an 11-year-old. He's in a little t-shirt, and little shorts. And he clears his throat a bit. He says, so the basic way the truce works is we let all the supernaturals govern themselves, but we have a council set up for inter-house conflicts, as it were. So if a problem involves more than one group of supernaturals, which are lumped together into 5 organizations, they can hash it out, and we Kuei Jin stand as observers.
So, as observers, so do we observe their individual sessions or just when there's conflicts or groupings?
We observe the council meetings. We offer our assistance when possible, and we are allowed to take part, but only if the council elects us in. That way we are, in many ways, above the council.
As we should be. They must have been truly desperate to agree to put themselves subservient as...
but that's the glory of it. They do not view themselves subservient. By withholding certain powers we're withholding our authority over the council, at least officially. And
yes.
In doing so, they don't view themselves as subservient. They view themselves as the masses voting to do things, and us outside of the circle.
It's the same trappings as democracy, though. It gives the illusion of freedom of choice, when in actuality it is still a select few that have the control.
I see that the heretical dharmas still study Machiavelli.
It's just they've given us access to everything, and if they try to pull away or turn against us, we've got the support of the others, plus whatever we've amassed in the meantime to protect ourselves.
And in the meantime, I have effectively taken the leadership role of the city, appearing as reluctant as possible.
No, it's very, very wise, and actually should be emulated in several other cities, other courts.
For now, though, we have a rule of shadow. I know that more traditional elements of the Chinkuks, and certainly elements of the Camarilla and the Guru Nation and the Beast Courts, and I don't know enough about the Changelings or the Hissien to determine their governance, but there are elements that would destroy us all if they understand that we're working together.
This is truly the way of the future, though, for survival in the 6th age.
Exactly. So, and I'm glad to see you agree with me. So for now, we keep things secret. We kick out the technocracy. We forge the council ahead. We make it a shining beacon, and then we reveal it to the world.
Understood.
But everything must remain secret beforehand. You tell no one.
I have no one to tell.
That is good.
So, what role do you see me playing in this?
You, as far as any supernatural who is not Kuei Jin are to know, you're simply one of us, an observer.
Okay.
And in publicly discussed matters and matters of interhouse conflict, we will support you, at least in public. Behind closed doors, if you cross too many lines, step on too many toes, measures may need to be taken. But for now, I'm willing to let you build up your cult as long as they too are taught the discretion.
Was much discretion as can be had, but I am a representative of justice. So my area where my cult is, we will be cleaning up that part of the city and trying to purge it of injustice. You want the city to become a glowing beacon. We will start in the mortal realm as well as on this side of the veil.
That will be very prudent. When you will want to also speak with, as a representative of justice. One moment, I've got to pull this up. You will want to speak with a Mr. Roger Crispin. I've decided to cloak the council's metaphor, as it were, in the Western concept of tarot cards. You're familiar?
Slightly, yes.
He nods and says, tarot cards are like what Western playing cards became later, except that they have a fifth suit, the major arcana. And so the four main suits are what we've divided the supernatural community into, except for us, of course. The Kinjen are House of Staves, which given what happens when you poke one of them with a staff in the chest hard enough, I found deliciously ironic. The lightning people are the House of Pentacles. The Changelings and the Hissien, who have formed a delightful alliance, are the House of Cups. And the Beast Courts and their guests of the Guru Nation are the House of Swords.
That's where those names came from.
Exactly. Okay. And any member of any house or any Kuei Jin may be elected to the Major Arcana. And each Major Arcana has a different role to play. And there are ideally 22 of them, though not all of them have been voted in.
Elected by the council?
The entire council, yes.
Very well.
The houses each have one vote.
Very well.
Roger Crispin is our justice, the only sitting judge on the council at the moment.
Only sitting judge. So it sounds like there's more
There's
judges.
there are 2 more judge positions that can be open.
If elected by the
The
different
council.
houses.
Yes.
All right.
The Actually, no. Gabriel Lane is also a judge. Sorry, out of character. He wouldn't have made that mistake. Sorry. You will want to speak with Roger Crispin or Gabriel Lane. There are 2 sitting judges. The third position that is open is judgment. And if you can prove you have a zealotry for justice and can demonstrate this before the council, they may vote you in.
I'll keep that in mind.
The more Wanjian who sit on the Tarot Council, the better we can guide it.
Well, and it sounds like we have a lot of Guelo in the judge seats, so to have a local would probably not be a bad idea either as a judge.
Exactly. We have a lot of Guelo throughout the city, but that's the nature of this city.
I noticed the previous night I had run into Hsien, a knight, Sir Jonathan, who was attempting to educate me in the ways of the city, though he did not know how I could get in touch with you or any other member of the Flame Court.
He's not a Hsien. He is in the West, they call them changelings or fae. But the Hsien are creatures of the elements, and they are creatures of thought. And there are superficial similarities between them and the Hsien.
Oh, so they would be... So it's more coincidental, like us and the Kinjin?
Yes.
Oh.
But unlike us and the Kinjin, they are not at each other's throats. They are less mercurial. And in this city, at least, they have formed a lovely little alliance. And I've heard that they've done so in other cities of where the Middle Kingdom meets the West. Places like Seoul and Tokyo.
It's still disrespectful of me, though, to refer to him as a Hsien if he is not. But I guess I have a little bit more to learn about many things.
Well, there is much to learn about all things. I've been on Earth for... He looks like he's actually counting, but he's just putting on a show, and it's pretty obvious. 2,136 years. And I have much to learn still. I've not yet climbed the mountain.
Well, perhaps successfully shielding the detriments of the Sixth Age may help get you to the summit.
I would like to hope so, or at least buy myself enough time to get to the summit, he says, smirking. You are wiser than stereotypes would make of your Dharma.
Well, I know most locals kind of dabble in this Dharma as a way to rebel against the ancestors. And from what I hear, those in India are
more accepting of it at the very least.
Yeah, but they have a kind of a different attitude towards it as well. I see myself as gravitating to this as a proper extension of my karmic cycle and becoming an avatar of justice when I was shirking of it in my previous duties is best fitting.
He nods. If you do need to contact me from here on out, at the moment, I have, in a way, even though I'm a member of the Major Arcana, an extension of my own court on the council in the form of a thrashing dragon named Izumi. She has much to learn, mostly patience and discretion, but she acts in my name and can contact me at any time, and she is the city's tower, the strategist warrior. And that is a role she excels in. And out of character, she's one of my PCs. They voted an NPC to the council, so I'm rolling with it. Yay. And he writes down her phone number, slides it over, and says, if you need to contact the court, contact her. And ask her how she died at some point. She loves telling that story.
It could prove an interesting conversation then.
Indeed, especially because she was, I wouldn't call her a Westerner, but she was an Israeli.
Interesting.
Very, especially since she didn't end up in the body she died in.
That's less interesting than somebody, a foreigner, taking the road back.
Foreigners take the road back all the time. But the specific form that fate gave her afterwards, compared to what she was.
Very well. Yes, it would be good to get into contact with all those individuals. And I will definitely keep the shadow aware so that the secret does not leave the city.
Exactly. Is there anything you need from me or the court before I leave?
So we have no centralized location for the court right now. I only know how to get in contact with the House of Cups.
We're working on that. One of our number owns a business, and we are trying to ensure that a new court can be built without the enemy knowing. What do you know of the technocracy?
Just basically what I was told the other night by Sir Jonathan, that
you may know more under their other name, the 5 Metal Dragons.
I've vaguely just high-tech Chinta with infusing chi into scientific inventions.
Specifically, their ultimate goal is to make a plague of disbelief go through the land. And through this disbelief, make everything that is not scientific impossible.
Well, then they're the harbingers of the 6th Age, I guess.
Exactly. They are what we have unified against. And they operate by controlling money, controlling thought on a massive scale. They operate by promising a brighter future for sleepers and other fun terms that they like to use.
Well, then I guess it's a good thing that I'm working the opposite direction on improving people's faith in miracles.
Exactly.
It'll definitely put me at odds with them.
Exactly. You will want to avoid all police, for they have effectively control of the police. All military, for they have effective control over the military, especially those power armored suits that are patrolling the streets. Out of character, has anyone mentioned that to you?
Yeah, he had told me about the power armor. He had asked me if I'd heard of it, and I told him that prior to my death, I remembered them talking about some equipment that we were supposed to be getting issued, but I hadn't realized it was that souped up.
Yeah. Yeah, it's they basically they had to up their freaking timetable to deal with us. So yeah, especially those power armored suits. And if you meet a man or a woman wearing a black suit and black sunglasses, especially mirrored sunglasses, they are not only not to be trusted, but you are to run rather than engage unless you are certain you can destroy them.
Yes, that's what Sir Jonathan had said. He he didn't appreciate my pop culture comeback to that, but I do get the idea that, especially because they probably have an easier way to call reinforcements than I would.
Yes, very much so. And they can call more of them and better armed. And they are the ultimate threat. And they're trying to establish the same chokehold here that they have over the mainland. And there's a reason why inside China itself, only the Chinkuks has any real power base, is because they have effectively driven everyone else out, including the Wulong, who before my arrival here several decades ago, I had thought were completely wiped out.
Bullet to the head still take out these agents?
Usually, some of them have turned out to be robots. Some of them have turned out to be clones.
Well,
Yes. But usually a bullet to the head will take them out. That is, of course, if they're not using lightning people magic to make the bullets miss or other fun coincidental things like that. They may cloak it in technology, but they have the same capacities as any mage. And worse, they often work alongside humans. Unawakened, non-magical humans. Specifically so that if we pull out our big guns, we expose our existence.
corpses can't report anything.
This is true, which is why you have to be certain you can destroy them if you engage.
What would be more amazing, them surviving a bullet to the head or me being able to pop off 3 rounds in a split second?
The problem is if all 3 of those rounds then just so happen to miss, the lightning people, and you should definitely look at their methods. I find it very fascinating now that I've had to work with them. They operate with coincidental powers most often, for they fear a thing called paradox, which is some sort of backlash that if you do the impossible, it strikes them. So they, as you said, it'd be amazing if someone survived a bullet to the head, but if you try to fire at them and the bullets just so happen to miss, even by an inch, that could happen. Or try to shoot them in the gut and it just so happens to deflect off a belt buckle.
So they manipulate Joss.
Very much so.
We have ways to deal with that too, do we not?
We have some ways. We do not have very many Dampier here.
Well, that's beyond my capabilities of contributing at this time, but...
Of course, and we don't have the time for it anyways. The 2 Dampier we have are my adopted sons. And they, up until recently, acted as wardens for the council. They basically had learned enough obligation to read anyone coming in and know what they were. But for now, they're in hiding.
All right. Well, I will definitely do my utmost to uphold and protect both my charges as well as the other members of the court.
Yeah. He sips his tea and finishes the cup and says, well, thank your charge for the hospitality and apologize on my behalf. I wanted to ensure loyalty and ensure discretion.
Yes, in the future, it'd be appreciated if you or anyone you send for me just simply asks. They will be able to get in contact. And will.
In the future, that will be the case. He stands and he bows.
And I will stand and bow in respect again.
All right. And he will pause before leaving as if he's thinking about whether or not to do something. And then he turns around one last time and he places a charm on the table and says, if you have any need of us, since you are not part of the court, any danger you face will be a danger we all face. Feel free to use that to summon me. And he gets up and leaves. And this thing has its own hun, and it resonates with his hun. And if you make a Kuei Jin lore plus intelligence check, you can try to figure out exactly what it is.
So is that a occult specialization or a total separate skill?
You get a number of lores for free.
Okay. I don't have any of that documented on my character sheet.
That's fine. A lot of people don't end up documenting it, but you get some lores for free. Give me a moment. I'll find the thing. Lores. Kuei Jin. Okay. You start with 2 dots of Kuei Jin lore.
Okay.
And you get 2 dots of your Dharma lore. So you've got 2 dots of Kuei Jin lore and Face of the Gods lore. And you get 1 dot of any lore.
Okay. So we've got 2 successes at least there.
Yeah. This device listens. And it's normally used to spy on people, but in this case, he's letting you know it exists, so you can use it as a communication device. And it'd be reasonably simple to block it off, just wrap it in cloth. So you just unwrap it and say, hey, I need help, I'm here. And, hey, look, he goes there. Or you can leave it somewhere and you can let him spy on things.
That in itself could be a handy tool for other ventures, but
yeah, it's resonating with his hun. If you work hard, you can make it resonate with your hun, which makes it useless for the reason he gave it to you, but
it would be worth studying in case it's something that could be replicated.
Yeah, it's essentially a level 1 magical artifact. All it does is it just listens and transmits.
Okay. Well, I will pocket it, and then I will leave, and I will stop by my charge's convenience store on the way to thank him for his beautiful loyalty.
Yeah, your charge is terrified And he says, thank you for arriving so quickly. I don't know what came over me. He just looked at me, and all of a sudden he was in charge.
There are many dangers out there that you need to be careful of, but you did not do anything wrong. So
he looks immensely relieved. And it's just, how did a child do that? I don't understand.
Just as I perform miracles, so too there are others that are able to affect things. Unfortunately, this demon forced his will upon your free will, of which I have taken care of the issue, and you do not need to worry about it happening again from him.
All right. He looks relieved, and he's just shaking a bit and working on reopening his shop. Are you going to do any investigation into how he figured out stuff?
Which figured
how
out
One
stuff?
Ping figured out where you were, how to get your follower, who was your followers, etc.
No, the dude's 2,000 years old. I'm assuming he's probably Dharma 8-ish and has more disciplines than I can count. So I just kind of assume that he's aware of a lot of things, which makes the threat of the technocracy actually a serious threat now, and not just Sir Jonathan's ramblings.
Yeah.
Because if Wan Ping is concerned with them, then this is serious hardcore shit.
Yeah, that's why he does all this shit in person, even though he should be just meditating until he can climb the mountain at this point. But no, he's doing all this stuff in person because, for one thing, they've been okay. Just to give you some background on the city, they've been over the last couple of years, they've just been showing up at supernatural places with paperwork that says, "We own this now, bitches," and kicking people out and taking it. And that basically lasted until they tried to take one of the shifters' properties, and then there was fighting in the streets, and other people jumped in to help because screw you guys, you've been taking our shit. And Wan Ping was like, I can work with this.
No, excellent. Well, I'm glad I invested in both Domain and Haven.
Oh, yes. Be glad. You may want to invest in some influence, because this is going to be a very influence-heavy game soon.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's where the role-playing is, but we can discuss that off-scene. So it sounds like our scene is probably over.
That sounds like scene is over.
So we shall end. Good evening, everyone.